My name is Robert James Mitchell. I'm 68 years old, but when I was 48, I believed I had achieved the pinnacle of spiritual life. For over 25 years, I had served as an elder of Jehovah's Witnesses in the quiet town of Milfield, Tennessee. I had devoted my entire adult life to this organization, to the point that my every thought, every action, every hope, and every fear revolved around the will of Jehovah as interpreted by the men of the governing body. I believed with all my heart that I was protecting the flock, guiding souls to salvation, and walking in the only truth on earth. But the truth, as I would learn, is a thing far more dangerous than I had imagined. I was born in 1956 to a humble family. My father was a mechanic, my mother worked long hours at the diner, and our lives were quiet, predictable, and rooted in Baptist tradition. I attended church, sang in a choir, and listened to sermons, but I never felt the presence of God as my parents described. I married Barbara when I was 22. She was kind, cheerful, and devoted. We had 3 children, Michael, Susan, and David, and I worked at a small furniture shop. Life was simple, content, and ordinary. Everything changed one hot Saturday morning in 1984 when 2 Jehovah's Witnesses knocked on our door. Brother William and Sister Margaret. They spoke of the Bible in ways I had never heard. They spoke of paradise, of resurrection, of the faithful being saved from a world full of wickedness. Barbara and I were captivated. Our simple lives suddenly felt incomplete. We were awakening to a truth we hadn't known existed. We began studying the Bible with them regularly. The illustrations in their literature showed families in perfect harmony, children playing with lions, people of all races smiling in peace. I remember thinking, how could I have lived so many years without knowing this? By 1985, Barbara and I were baptized at the district assembly in Nashville. The ceremony felt like a coronation. I was reborn, transformed, chosen. Our lives became fully dedicated to the organization. Every Tuesday and Thursday evening, every Saturday in field service, every Sunday at the Kingdom Hall, I devoted myself entirely. I was proud. I was certain. I was faithful. In 1989, at age 33, I became an elder. Brother Samuel Harrison, the coordinator, called me a shepherd of Jehovah's flock. My family flourished alongside me in their faith. We were exemplary, devoted, and trusted. I believe this path was holy. I believe this path was life itself. But slowly, subtle questions began to creep in. Jesus began speaking to me, not in visions or grand revelations, but in whispers, hints, and dreams. A verse that opened to me at random, "Test all things. Hold fast to what is good," lingered in my mind. A dream of walking through a dark forest where the trees whispered truths no one else could see. A sermon in which a phrase leapt off the page at me and revealed contradictions I had never noticed before. At first, I dismissed these hints. How could a faithful elder doubt the organization that had defined my life? Then came 2004, a year that began like any other. I was 48, at the peak of my authority, respected, admired, and deeply trusted. My children were following in my spiritual footsteps. Michael was married to Rachel. Susan had a family of her own, and David was preparing for the ministerial training school. We were pillars in the congregation. Everything seemed perfect. And then the call came. Brother Samuel's voice over the phone was cold, urgent. "Robert, come to the Kingdom Hall tonight. There is something urgent to discuss. Don't tell Barbara." The meeting was worse than I imagined. 3 elders sat waiting. They accused me of apostasy, of defiance, of seeking answers independently. They spoke of shunning, of cutting me off from my wife, my children, and my grandchildren. They warned that any attempt to influence others would result in further punishment. I felt trapped, isolated, as if the world I had known was collapsing around me. And then, in the midst of fear and despair, I felt him, the presence of Jesus. Not a vision, not a voice that others could see, but a certainty, a force that filled the room with light invisible to all others. "You are not alone. Trust me. This is the test you were born for," he whispered. I stood, trembling, yet unbroken. "You can strip me of every earthly connection," I said, "but you cannot touch my conscience. You cannot touch my soul. My relationship with God is mine, not yours." They were furious. Papers flew. Voices rose. Threats echoed. And yet, I felt peace, a fire inside that no human could extinguish. I walked out into the cold night, the autumn air biting at my face, but I breathed freely for the first time in decades. The shunning followed. Friends, family, and colleagues turned away. Letters arrived from congregations warning of my apostate influence. I was alone, and yet Jesus never left me. I saw him in the simplest moments: a bird singing outside my window, a phrase in scripture that seemed written just for me, a stranger's unexpected act of kindness. Each one was a whisper. I am here. You are not abandoned. I am your shepherd, Robert. There were moments I despaired, sitting alone at night, staring at the walls of my home, wondering if I could survive spiritual exile. I felt his presence so strongly it was almost tangible. He had been preparing me all these years for this moment of extreme trial. He saved me not with miracles that could be doubted, but with clarity, courage, and the unshakable knowledge that I was his. I emerged from this darkness renewed. My faith was no longer institutional, but personal. My conscience was free. My soul was alive. Even in the face of extreme isolation, betrayal, and loss, I knew the ultimate truth. Jesus had guided me, whispered hints, and saved me from the true danger, the loss of authentic faith. Today, I share my story to tell anyone trapped under fear or manipulation. The divine is not locked behind human walls. The shepherd waits. He whispers. He hints. And in the extreme, when every institution fails, he saves. Trust him. Follow the truth, no matter the cost. The truth sets us free. But first, it will test you, strip you, and push you to the very edge.